Success, like a magnet, always attracts the eyes and attention of others. While the curiosity of ordinary citizens is understandable, it becomes much more dangerous when wealth accumulated through years of hard work attracts the attention of criminals seeking easy prey. Today, we'll tell you about the insidious betrayals that have been troubling journalists and ordinary people alike for many years. Hampton is a fashionable seaside resort located on the east coast of Long Island. This is where the wealthiest residents of New York State live. It's usually a quiet place where the crime rate is practically zero. However, in 2001, the first murder in 2 decades took place here, so brutal that it shocked the entire county, disrupting the long-standing peace in the prestigious area of East Hampton Village. Just a few minutes' walk from the ocean stood a luxurious mansion belonging to a wealthy man. However, even the advantages of such a location could not protect its inhabitants from tragic events. The news of this tragedy was so shocking that it remained on the front pages of local media for another 3 years. After all, it was about the brutal murder of a famous and wealthy man. Ted Ammon was an extraordinary person. This very rich man achieved everything through his own efforts and intelligence, rising from the very bottom. He never shied away from his roots, although success could easily have gone to his head, as often happens. Ted was born and raised in a typical provincial middle-class family. After high school, he entered university where he focused on studying economics while also playing for the student lacrosse team. From a young age, Ted stood out for his strong build, attractive appearance, and determination. He seemed like a typical small-town boy if not for his phenomenal abilities in almost everything. Ted demonstrated remarkable intelligence which allowed him to achieve outstanding success in his studies, enabling him to secure a prestigious job. In the early 1980s, Ted focused on leveraged buyouts of companies. Gradually, thanks to his hard work, he managed to become one of the leading experts in this field. Ted's results were so impressive that he gained a reputation as the best investment banker in the small firm he had joined as a university student. Ted stood out as an incredibly insightful, decisive, and ambitious professional with a special instinct for profitable deals. His management joked that Ted brought both luck and considerable profits. These qualities allowed him to start earning serious money and lay the foundation for his own capital. At the same time, Ted remained a pleasant conversationalist, never bragging about his wealth or opportunities. He quietly and efficiently did his job, showing results better than others. Ted's first marriage ended in divorce in 1983. Afterward, Ted needed to find a new place to live. He had a scheduled meeting with real estate agent Generosa Ted Ammon, but due to his excessive workload, he missed it. For those who knew Ted, this wasn't unusual, as he was constantly busy with work. Close friends were used to his behavior, but Generosa was furious. She called Ted and angrily expressed her frustration. During the conversation, Ted caught something in her voice that attracted him, leading to a date and the beginning of their romantic relationship. After 3 years, in 1986, the couple married. Initially, it was a happy union, but over time, their feelings began to fade. In 1986, Ted became a key figure in the biggest leverage buyout deal of the decade, worth $26 billion. The operation brought considerable profit, part of which went to Ted. By 1992, Ted had accumulated enough experience and decided to start his own business, using the capital he had earned. Gradually, the successful businessman multiplied his wealth step by step, buying luxury homes not only in the United States but also abroad. Ted's first major purchase was an elite property in the heart of the country, followed by a Manhattan townhouse, and later a $6 million estate in Surrey, England. It was a huge mansion with over 50 rooms. Despite these lavish expenses, Ted remained charitable, donating about $15 million to his alma mater. He even created his own children's aid foundation, which he included in his will. Generosa, his wife, gladly embraced this luxurious lifestyle. Having grown up in hardship, she was unfamiliar with such wealth. She had a tumultuous childhood with her father absent, her mother dying of cancer when she was 10, and being placed in foster homes. Despite their wealth, Generosa didn't forget her roots, even adopting 11-year-old twins, Oleg and Gregory, as the couple couldn't have children of their own. However, as time passed, Generosa's behavior began to change. She became more unpredictable, angry, and detached from her friends. She also began to harbor suspicions about Ted's fidelity. In 1999, Generosa returned to the U.S. with the children, suspecting Ted of having an affair. She hired a private investigator, and it was confirmed that Ted had a young mistress. The marriage deteriorated rapidly. Generosa suspected that Ted was trying to hide part of his fortune, which she believed to be at least $300 million. However, assessments showed that Ted's wealth amounted to around $80 million. Generosa began an extravagant renovation of their townhouse in Manhattan, costing around $9 million, much of it financed by loans. Around this time, Generosa met Pelosi, an unemployed electrician with a failing marriage. A romantic relationship quickly developed between them, and Danny gained access not only to her heart but also to her wealth. Danny spent large sums of money, boasting about his connection with Generosa, which quickly caught Ted's attention. By 2001, Danny had effectively taken Ted's place in Generosa's life, living in the East Hampton mansion and driving Ted's cars. In early summer 2001, lawyers reached a divorce settlement, and it was agreed that Ted would retain around $46 million. However, Generosa seemed determined to get more, and her relationship with Danny became more intense. On the evening of October 20th, 2001, Ted had dinner and returned to his East Hampton estate. By Monday, Ted hadn't shown up for an important meeting, which was unusual for him. Concerned, his business partner and secretary traveled to East Hampton, where they found Ted's car and barking dogs. The house was unlocked, and inside they found Ted's lifeless body in a pool of blood. He had been bludgeoned to death with a blunt object, likely a baseball bat. Although Generosa and Danny were immediate suspects, the lack of direct evidence made it difficult for authorities to press charges. Ted's first wife, who remained friends with him, informed detectives that Ted had expressed concerns about his relationship with Generosa shortly before his death. Despite their suspicions, detectives struggled to find solid evidence. Generosa and Danny refused to cooperate with the investigation, locking themselves in the mansion and hiring high-profile lawyers. However, Generosa's health deteriorated, and in 2003, she was diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer. She passed away in 2003, leaving behind her children and a fortune. Following Generosa's death, Danny was finally charged with Ted's murder. Witnesses came forward, claiming Danny had boasted about killing Ted eventually. Danny was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years to life. Despite the conviction, Danny continued to deny his involvement in Ted's death. Years later, Ted's adopted children sold the East Hampton estate for $8 million. The house, which had fallen into disrepair, symbolized the tragic events that had taken place within its walls. The investigation into Ted Ammon's murder captured the attention of the entire country. The brutality of the crime, combined with the wealthy and high-profile lives of the people involved, made this a case that the media followed relentlessly. Even after Ted's death, rumors continued to swirl about the complicated web of relationships, betrayals, and secrets that led to his demise. Generosa's death in 2003, just 2 years after Ted's murder, added a tragic layer to the story. Her passing marked the end of any possibility of uncovering her full involvement in Ted's murder. While Danny Pelosi was convicted and served his sentence, the true extent of Generosa's role remained a mystery, as she took her secrets with her to the grave. The twins, Oleg and Gregory, faced a new chapter in their lives. After Generosa's passing, a custody battle ensued between their nanny and Ted's sister. Eventually, Ted's sister won custody, and the children moved to Huntsville, Alabama, where they would try to move on from the trauma of losing both of their adoptive parents in such tragic circumstances. As for Danny, despite being convicted, he never ceased proclaiming his innocence. His defense team had tried to argue that it was Generosa who masterminded the murder and that Danny had no direct involvement. But the jury, presented with overwhelming circumstantial evidence, was convinced of Danny's guilt. The testimonies of fellow inmates, witnesses who heard Danny boast about the murder, and other incriminating evidence led to his conviction. Ted's death was not only a personal tragedy for his family, but also a significant moment in the quiet, affluent community of East Hampton. The violence of the crime shook the area, which had long been known as a peaceful haven for the wealthy. Even years later, the memory of Ted's murder lingered, as did the questions about the true motivations behind it. The sale of the East Hampton mansion in the years following Ted's death also marked the end of an era for his children, who put the house up for sale after years of it sitting abandoned. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth and success, had become a haunted reminder of the tragic events that took place there. The new owners debated whether to restore the home or demolish it and start anew, but the legacy of what had happened there would be difficult to erase. Ted's story, one of immense success, personal tragedy, and betrayal, continues to serve as a cautionary tale. It reminds us of the dark side of wealth, where the pursuit of money, power, and revenge can lead to unimaginable consequences. Despite his achievements, Ted's life was cut short by those closest to him, making his murder one of the most infamous cases in recent memory. As we reflect on this case, we are reminded of the fragile nature of trust, the destructive power of greed, and the irreversible damage caused by betrayal. The story of Ted Ammon's life and death is a chilling reminder that even in the most privileged circles, danger can lurk just beneath the surface. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Until next time, friends. The aftermath of Ted Ammon's murder left a permanent scar on everyone involved. His tragic death, in such brutal circumstances, sent shockwaves through his family, friends, and the entire country. The case, which was widely covered in the media, left many wondering how such an accomplished man could meet such a devastating end. Danny Pelosi, convicted for Ted's murder, continued to maintain his innocence throughout the trial and beyond. He insisted that Generosa was the true mastermind behind the plot and that he had nothing to do with the killing. However, The evidence gathered by investigators painted a very different picture. Witnesses testified that Danny had openly bragged about the murder, even describing in disturbing detail how Ted had begged for his life. Despite the conviction, many questions remained unanswered. Was Danny acting alone, or was Generosa more involved than the courts could prove? Generosa's own death in 2003 closed the door on any further investigation into her direct role in the crime, leaving a void that could never be filled. The inheritance left by Ted's will also raised suspicions, since the new will, which would have excluded Generosa from his fortune, had not been signed before his death. She ended up receiving half of his estate. The other half went to charity, including his children's foundation. This turn of events made many wonder whether Generosa and Danny's relationship was fueled by greed and a desire to secure Ted's wealth. The legal battle over custody of Ted and Generosa's adopted children was another chapter in this tragic saga. The twins, Oleg and Gregory, were caught in the crossfire of a bitter custody dispute between their nanny and Ted's sister. After much legal wrangling, the children were eventually placed in the care of Ted's sister. They moved to Huntsville, Alabama, where they could hopefully find some peace and distance from the media frenzy that had engulfed their lives. As for Danny, he faced the consequences of his actions. His conviction for second-degree murder meant a life behind bars with a minimum sentence of 25 years before he would be eligible for parole. Even in prison, Danny maintained his innocence, clinging to the claim that Generosa was the real culprit. However, the weight of the evidence, combined with his erratic behavior and reckless spending of Ted's fortune, made it difficult for anyone to believe his version of events. Ted Ammon's life, marked by incredible success and achievement, was tragically overshadowed by his brutal murder. The once prominent figure in the world of finance became the center of one of the most sensational criminal cases in recent history. His death served as a stark reminder of how greed, jealousy, and betrayal can lead to devastating consequences. The luxurious mansion in East Hampton, once a symbol of Ted's success, became a haunting relic of the tragedy. Abandoned and left to decay, the mansion was eventually sold for a fraction of its original value. The new owners faced the difficult decision of whether to restore the home or demolish it altogether. Regardless of what happened to the physical structure, the legacy of the events that took place there could never truly be erased. In the end, the story of Ted Ammon is one of brilliance and tragedy. It highlights the heights one can reach through determination and intelligence, but also exposes the darker sides of human nature. His murder, committed by those closest to him, stands as a chilling reminder of the dangers that can arise when trust is betrayed and ambition turns deadly. As we conclude this story, it's impossible not to feel the weight of the loss suffered by Ted's family, friends, and the world he left behind. His life and death remain a powerful example of both the best and worst of humanity. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to light. Until next time, take care and stay safe.